First at 4, the diagnosis upending the presidential campaign. President Trump and the First Lady test positive for the coronavirus. We have team coverage on how he's doing, what this means for his inner circle, and reaction from Metro Detroiters. Breaking news on the coronavirus here at home. The governor makes a big move up north because of a surge in cases. Good afternoon, Andrew.
Hello there, Karen. Hello, everyone. Chilly today and colder tonight. Frost advisory going into effect. What it means for you and your family in minutes.
Local 4 News starts now with a breaking news alert.
Complete coverage of the president testing positive in a moment, but we begin with breaking coronavirus right here in Michigan. Governor Whitmer is moving the Upper Peninsula back to phase 4 because of a surge in cases. The governor says the UP had low numbers through June, but now has a 5% positivity rate. In phase 4, people are required to work from home if they can. Schools need to enforce mask requirements, and there are limits on social gatherings. Now, all of Metro Detroit is currently in phase 4. The news comes as Michigan added 780 new coronavirus cases and 7 more deaths. Now, to our top story, the announcement that has shaken Washington. President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump have tested positive for the coronavirus. This afternoon, some of the most powerful people in the country are being monitored. Here's a look at who has tested positive for the virus. In addition to the president and First Lady, there is a senior advisor, Hope Hicks, and RNC chairwoman, Ronna McDaniel, who is at home here in Michigan. The negative test results include Vice President Mike Pence, Joe Biden, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, Supreme Court nominee Amy Coney Barrett, Jared Kushner, along with the president's daughter, Ivanka, and son, Barrett. We have team coverage for you, beginning with Devin Skillian, and the latest on how the president is doing at this hour.
Well, Karen, a short time ago, the Trump campaign announced all of the president's campaign events will be virtual or postponed. The vice president, meanwhile, as you mentioned, who has tested negative for the virus, is going to continue campaigning. White House says the president is experiencing mild symptoms and is under quarantine. His chief of staff says they discovered senior advisor Hope Hicks was positive for the virus as Marine One left the White House on Thursday with the president on board. The president announced his positive test result overnight on Twitter. The White House will not say if he's getting any treatment thus far. His handling of the pandemic has, of course, been a central point of this election, with opponents criticizing his response and decision to rarely wear a mask. Well, now the White House is on alert.
I fully expect that as this virus continues to go on, other people in the White House will certainly have a positive test result, and we've got the mitigation plan in place to make sure that the government not only continues to move forward, but the work of the American people continues to move forward.
This is tragic. It's very sad, but it also is something that again, going into crowds, unmasked and all the rest, was sort of a brazen invitation for something like this to happen. It's sad that it did, but nonetheless hopeful that it will be a transition to a saner approach to what this virus is all about.
So news about the positive test really only about 15 hours old, so it is still unclear what this diagnosis is going to mean for, say, the upcoming debates. The next one scheduled for October 15th in Miami. So a story that continues to develop and evolve by the minute. The latest coming up here on Local 4 News at 5. Karen, back to you.
All right. Thank you, Devin. Well, after testing negative for the virus, Joe Biden headed to Grand Rapids for a campaign event. Biden had no comment as he boarded his plane this afternoon, but did tweet well wishes for the president this morning. Biden was scheduled to leave for Michigan this morning, but then waited for negative test results to come in for both him and his wife. Biden landed just about 20 minutes ago and is expected to speak in the next 30 minutes. So what is the next step for the people who have been around the president, First Lady, or Hope Hicks recently? Our Dr. Frank McGeorge says even if they test negative now, it does not mean they're in the clear.
Once there's contact tracing and a more precise timeline of who was infected and when emerges, all of the people determined to have been in close contact during the potentially infectious phase of the president, First Lady, and Hope Hicks' illness are going to need to quarantine for 14 days and monitor for symptoms. Now, I'm sure they will all also undergo daily testing in this case, given the nature of most of their positions. Once someone is determined to have been in close contact with an infectious person, even if they have a negative test, they still need to quarantine because it's possible that they simply haven't developed enough of a viral load to be detected, which generally always occurs within 14 days.
All right, thank you, Doc. Meantime, today, Governor Whitmer wished the President and First Lady a speedy recovery, saying no one is immune from this virus, whether you're rich or poor, Republican or Democrat. In a statement, the governor writes, quote, "My sincere hope is that today's news will serve as a wake-up call to every single American. Right now, all 50 states and the federal government have some kind of declared state of emergency. We are all in this together. Let's all do our part. Let's all mask up and let's get through this together, one nation." Paula Tutman gathering more reaction to the diagnosis this afternoon. She joins us live. Paula.
Karen, because this isn't just a national story, this is a local story as well. When something has happened or is happening to the President of the United States, it affects all of us. When we talk to voters, overwhelmingly, they said that they wish the first couple well, they hope that they will recover fully, and then they also talked reality. The sentiment seems to be the same whether you are a Trump supporter.
It really breaks my heart because this is a very, very, very important election, and this has never happened in history. I'm shocked.
Or not a Trump supporter.
I just think it is, an example of you can't be too cavalier about this virus because we don't really understand it yet.
Waking up to the news that the President of the United States has tested positive for COVID-19 is being met with shock, but not surprise.
We wish the President and his wife be well, of course, although I do believe that there is a lesson to be learned here. Wear the mask.
Really not surprised that it hasn't happened sooner because it seems like he's almost reckless about his rallies. Not wearing a mask.
He played down the virus a lot, and it's not surprising to me that he contracted the virus.
This really tells you how bad COVID is. It's out there.
To me, it just brings a new face to it. I feel like people who have been affected the most look like me, and he does not. So I feel like it should bring a new face, a new financial class, a new everything.
And there is a sense that this must be a wake-up call to the White House to call the pandemic what it is, serious and dangerous.
It just shows you that this can affect anybody and that everybody needs to heed precautions and do what they can do, not only to keep themselves, but other people around them safe. I hope he's well, and that, for anybody who has struggled or had the infection, we wish him well to get better.
I didn't realize he'd been going to fundraisers recently, and those were all indoors. And I know they test him daily, but a test is it's a point in time, and it's really after the fact. It just says, okay, I don't have it today, and then tomorrow you could get it. But what are you doing to not get it?
I think he's going to back down a little. He's going to step back because he probably thought it wouldn't happen to him, but it did. We all got to pray. We all got to pray for our president and the country.
Yeah, we have a lot more really significant reaction to unpack. So coming up at 5 o'clock, we talk to members of the Michigan delegation, their reaction, and then stay with us. Come back, I should say, at 11 o'clock, because one of our local lawmakers is actually saying, wait a minute, what we're hearing from the White House, don't necessarily trust that. He is calling for independent verification of the condition of the first family. And that'll be tonight at 11. So lots to still unpack, Karen.
All right, thank you, Paula. Meantime, stocks dropped after the president announced his diagnosis. At one point today, the Dow was down 400 points. Now, they did claw back after the House Speaker hinted that another COVID relief bill may be coming with help for the airline industry. The markets just closed, and here's where things stand right now. The Dow down some 134 points. Business editor Rob Maloney is going to take a look at what this all means for you and your family, and we'll be talking to experts about how to handle your money right now when you join us for later editions of Local 4. Now, we do have live updates on this story as it continues to develop, and as we know, it is developing and changing hour by hour. Make sure to follow clickondetroit.com. Plus, you'll find the very latest tonight at 5. Warren police revealing some disturbing details about the murder of a 6-year-old boy and his father's girlfriend. Police say Tyrese Moore and his father's girlfriend were found dead Thursday morning at a home near 9 Mile and DeQuinder. The boy's father was found dead inside a burning car in Detroit. Warren Police Commissioner Bill Dwyer spoke today saying he wants federal agents to get involved.
The execution-style killing of the 6-year-old boy is truly evil, unthinkable, and senseless, and shows no regard for life. Only monsters or godless creatures would pull the trigger on a 6-year-old and execute a child.
Detroit and Warren Police believe more than one person is involved in the case. There's much more to come on a very busy Friday afternoon. Let's check in with Andrew.
And Karen, we're looking at cool conditions right now. Crisp out there. Really does feel like fall, right? Well, it feels even colder later tonight as temperatures drop. Frost advisory in effect, and I'll talk about what that means for you and your weekend in minutes.
All right, no bus service in Detroit today while drivers walked off the job. But first, hours of grand jury testimony in the Breonna Taylor case was just made public this afternoon. What's not included is getting as much attention as what was released.